Does anyone have a question?
Hi, Stuart. This is Jan.
Yes, John, I can't see you. Oh, there you
Oh,
are.
sorry. Um, could you talk about negative psychic tension and how tension gets stored in the body? The relationship between tension in the body and our practice?
I mean, how does tension get stored in the body? I mean, look, I'm not sure I know the answer to that, Jan. I'm not a doctor or a, you know, physical therapist, but I do know that we create an enormous amount of tension in our minds, our emotions, sexual energy, and you bring all of that together. These are different areas of the body, and the body is obviously going to be affected by this. You understand? And why it stores up in your hands or your neck or your chest or wherever it gets stored up. I mean, I don't have an answer for that. But I do know that if we master our tension and we learn how to transform it into, you know, chi, into, an open heart, the tension doesn't get stored up. It gets transformed into something that gives life, something that gets us closer to spirit, that gets us closer to a higher level of our humanity. And the tension, look, we get congested inside. Human beings live with a great deal of tension. Most people have no way of doing anything about that tension. And that tension stores itself up in different areas of the body. It goes into the heart, you get heart attacks, you get all kinds of problems, that come to people, illnesses and problems that are a byproduct of tension that we store up inside us. Why we store it in certain areas, I don't know. I don't have an answer, but we do. And wherever we store it, there's pain, there's aches, there's all kinds of problems that come about. And they're reminding us that our job is to transform that tension, to turn it into a positive energy, an energy that really helps us, to live here in a much better way. We can be responsible for doing that. Now, there's always or often a lot of tension in people's heads. You know why? Because they spend 98% of their time thinking, and that energy and the conflict of thought and the tension it brings up and the energy that never really goes down into the core of our system to become like fuel that truly can help us get balance and foundation inside. That is part of the discipline of doing this meditation, learning how to use that tension consciously. And it gets stored up in a lot of places, I mean, and creates all too many problems in people. And if we learn how to use our mind, our breath, our chakras, or, consciously, we can eliminate probably 75% of it. There's always going to be tension, but we can eliminate 75% of the tension. So why it gets stored up in somebody's hands or their elbows or I mean, that's where the blocks are, I guess. I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. Maybe a physical therapist does, or somebody that does that kind of practice, a massage therapist. But I do have an answer to how to transform the tension into a life-giving energy. Rudy always said, tension's like compost. It's garbage. You understand? It's garbage. Well, compost creates organic gardens. Understand what? Cow shit creates an organic garden. And tension is like human compost, and we need to learn to use it consciously so that it does create an organic garden inside us, something healthy and alive and vital, instead of headaches and depression and unhappiness and kind of miserable world that people live in because of all the suffering that goes on inside them. And you started with how to drop negative psychic tension. Well, there's a little exercise that I learned from Rudy. You let your arms drop at your side and you say, please help me to drop all negative psychic tension. And be sure you say all negative psychic tension because everything is tension. And that energy, that tension will just come running off the ends of your fingers. It'll relax you in a very good way. Good thing to do before you sit down to meditate. I mean, there's no avoiding tension. Nobody's perfect, and everybody is going to have some kind of tension. But there is, you understand, a way to use that tension consciously. And there's a way in which that tension can help develop a spiritual life in a human being if it's used consciously. There's also a way that it kills us. This thing creates heart attacks, heart conditions, cancer, all kinds of problems are created. A manifestation of tension in a human being. So if I had my druthers, I'd much rather learn how to use it consciously and suffer that way than suffer, unconsciously. I mean, I always told you I used to have this painting, I'll never forget, of a staff. It was a Zen painting, big staff, long painting. And there was calligraphy. Those who were on the path get hit with the staff, and those who are not on the path get hit with the staff. And I used to love it. It always reminded me of, the fact that, you don't escape suffering. You just learn how to use it consciously so that you grow because of it. And it helps develop your life instead of it taking your life away. Because one way or the other, you're going to get hit with the staff. And instead of complaining about it, learn how to use it to help develop an inner life that connects you with God. I always regretted selling that painting. I used to really like that painting. A wonderful painting.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's an important question because it afflicts everybody, every single person. And most people just get sucked right into it, and all they do is suffer because of it, instead of learning how to use it to transform themselves. As a reminder, hey, you got to learn how to do this. Instead of being like a vacuum cleaner, it sucks people right in. And then they spend their entire day just complaining about it, walking around looking miserable. It's kind of stupid when there's an alternative. If somebody would learn it and do it. Does anyone else have a question? When you do learn that, then you discover that whatever happens to you in your life is something positive. I don't care how negative you think it is. If you use it properly, it becomes a positive experience that is teaching you that you've got to grow inside yourself. And that's an amazing thing when you start seeing life that way, instead of fetching and complaining and, oh my God, I can't do that. It's just bullshit, and it's tiring because everything is there as one's teacher. I mean, I once read the Buddha, the fastest way to God is through suffering. Basically, because you have no option. It's the only way out. It's the only way to free yourself from the intensity of suffering, is to connect with higher energy in the universe and use it as a vehicle to build that connection instead of being sucked into it and spending days of your life being depressed and unhappy and miserable and complaining. You're walking around with this why me complex. Why am I going through this? Everybody goes through it. Does anyone else have a question? What a great thing to learn. I mean, what an extraordinary thing to have as part of your repertoire of living. How to transform. I know how to transform tension. I can do it in 30 seconds and not have to sit with it for months and let it drive me crazy. And it's possible to do this. I'm not exaggerating. And then the tension not only afflicts you, it afflicts everybody you meet. You think it's a mystery? People just look at you and they know that you're going through hell. Is there anything wrong? You just have to look at you. It's no mystery. It's only a mystery to yourself. Anyway, does anyone else have a question? Maybe a happier subject.
Stuart, it's Chris.
Yes.
Stuart, would you talk about the necessity for finding humor in these situations?
I have to talk about it. I mean, it's a lifeline, Chris.
Yeah,
A lifeline. I mean, you got to find humor in everything because life is pretty funny.
yeah,
We only turn it into a great tragedy because that's the way we respond to it. But the whole thing is absurd, what
yeah,
goes on in this world. And you got to be able to laugh at it. You got to be able to laugh at yourself. Otherwise, you'll never get free of yourself. You take yourself too seriously and you take everything everybody does personally. And then you make your life miserable instead of, oh, what the fuck? Who cares?
yeah,
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I got to keep my heart open and just enjoy the way I live.
yeah,
It's a very important part of learning how to grow in yourself, just to be able to laugh. Mine, look, the funniest things are really takeoffs on great tragedy.
yeah,
I mean, Shakespeare knew how to do that, the little dwarf digging, grave digger, here lies,
yeah,
well, here is I mean, he knew how to make things funny that were tragic. And we have to learn how to do the same thing because otherwise the world is just too difficult to deal with, and it's
yeah,
not going to change. unless people change. And I don't see people like Donald Trump and all these lunatics that run governments changing. They are so set in their ways, and their purpose is to make everybody else miserable. You got to laugh at them.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you take them seriously, these crazy people?
It's theater of the
Donald
absurd.
Trump, and I began to feel such empathy for that guy.
Yeah.
I've never seen him smile. I have never seen an open heart. I have never seen him smile unless he's done something terrible to somebody else. What an awful way to live.
Yeah.
And you look at the guy's face and all those people around, you look at their faces, and they're just such deeply unhappy people.
That's right. It seems like it's really theater of the absurd, isn't it?
It's theater of the absurd. It really is theater of the absurd. Life is theater of the absurd.
Yeah.
In the 60s, you had theater of the absurd, Beckett and Ionesco and all those people,
Yeah.
I love it. Oh man, I enjoyed that, going to those theatrical plays so much. You don't see them anymore. It must become theater of the ridiculous.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're born here, for God's sake, to learn how to love, to enjoy our lives, to be happy people, to find that the best that life has to offer us. That's why we're born here, not
Yeah.
to be miserable and unhappy. Although you'd never believe it by what goes on here. And for saying what I just said, they can probably kick me out of the country. Yeah, good idea. I go live in the south of France. That wouldn't be so bad. Does anyone else have a question? You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Stuart,
Yes.
can you talk about transforming the energy, how you do it so quickly?
Well, you have certain elements of your life. Well, you have a mind that's very powerful. We all do. Have very powerful minds. You have will, and you have a need to have a spiritual life. Then you have a chakra system. And the chakra right below the navel is the area of transformation. And by using the mind, bringing the attention to that chakra, you understand? By using the breath properly, by using your will to do it and the need you have to have a spiritual life, you will transform that tension. You can draw that tension right down into the chakra below the navel. It will become chi. It'll become harmony, balance, foundation, rootedness. It will change the thing that's killing you into a life-giving force. And you have all the capacity to do this by using these tools consciously. And the basic tools of this meditation. Keeping the mind focused below the navel. Ultimately, you train yourself through the meditation practice to spend your entire day staying focused below the navel. So that no matter what happens, you have balance and harmony in you and you can deal with it. But that's the work. And if you're willing to do the work on yourself, you learn how to do what I'm talking about. It took me learning how to work on myself to be able to master this craft, to learn how to do it, and then to live the day centered, balanced, not letting stupid things make me crazy. Being able to laugh at myself and to laugh at life. But you have the ability and you have all the tools. You don't have to go shopping for them. You're born with them, for God's sake. You come into the world with those tools. They're God-given. Now we have to learn to master them and use them.
Why is it so difficult to learn to use tools we have?
Well, I always say the only person to have a spiritual life, dear, the only person you're up against is you. You are the only person you're up against. Everyone else you can say no to. I know, to yourself, you have to learn how to master because we are all mysteries. The greatest mystery on the planet Earth is ourselves. We can see everybody else's stuff and this and who they are, what. When it comes to ourselves, it's a great mystery. We have to be able to transform our inner life so that we stop becoming a mystery and we see clearly where we need to work on ourselves and we do the work. Because we have all the tools, we just have to be able to see where we need to work. Why this is, ask God, I don't know. I never could figure it out. I just knew this is the way it is. And I can't complain about it. I just have to deal with it. And just unravel the mystery of Stuart. And that's a pretty wonderful voyage, unraveling the mystery of yourself. Most great art is based on the unraveling of the mystery of oneself. There can't be a more greater adventure to take on earth than going deep inside yourself and learning how to transform your tension into harmony, balance, into creative energy, an open heart, quiet mind. I'm not saying this is easy to do, but you have will, which is almost always used to make money, to, seduce somebody, that's where it's used. Use it inside yourself.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question? Okay, if there are no more questions, there will be meditation on Thursday. God bless you. Ellie, send me a transcripted version of this class. Okay, God bless you all and thank you. And I will be seeing everybody, I hope, on Thursday. Looking
Bless you too. Thank you.
Much.
Thank you.
forward.